YouTube, the website, GBN TV, Classic 105, Hot 98. Good morning to each and every one of you. This morning we have joining us virtually is Prime Minister of Grenada, Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell. He is our guest this morning. Good morning, Prime Minister.
Good morning, Awesome, and good morning to your listeners throughout the length and breadth of this country.
Thank you so much for joining us. I know it wasn't too long ago that we spoke, and I'm happy that you're back again with us in short order. We appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
COVID is making sure that we stay in touch with each other much more regularly than in normal times.
You see positives of the virus, positives of the pandemic.
Yeah, that's the positive aspect of
exactly.
It, yes.
Well, Mr. Prime Minister, we're going to get right into it. I know time is limited, so we're going to start with, of course, COVID-19. The latest developments happening here in the Isle of Spice. We reopened our borders for regional flights last week, and the proposed date for the reopening to international carriers is August 1st. Considering the latest coming out of countries around the world, not just in the region, are we still sticking to August 1st to welcome international passengers and flights?
At this point, yes, because, of course, if things change in the next week or so, then clearly we adjust accordingly. But as we are very much aware, we did what we had to do a few months ago when this whole virus hit the international community, closed down our country, and we are aware that that the country cannot remain closed forever. There must be some form of economic opportunities. A number of people have been affected negatively by COVID-19, but we placed health as the most important priority and still considered it as the number one priority before anything else. But clearly we, like the rest of the world and the rest of the region, we have to balance the health reasons and concerns against the fact that we must have some form of livelihood for people in the country. And of course, the tourism impact on tourism has been extremely heavy, and therefore we must do something about it. At the same time, we have to dot the I's, cross the T's, and make sure that we put every system in place. And that's why we did not do it before, because we felt that we wanted to make sure the contact tracing system was in place to ensure that anyone comes in and do have a problem that we can follow and find out exactly what the situation is. We also wanted to make sure that people are tested properly before they come board any flight to come here. And when they come, we have to have systems in place to test them again, have enough tests to do so, and at the same time too, to quarantine them. And therefore we had to have the places to do the quarantine. So a number of things, and the question of who will be paying for all these activities was another factor, because as you know, the financial stress is on the country as much as it is on most people throughout in our country and outside of the country.
In the midst of reopening the borders, we are seeing concerns coming out of regional travel. We have issues with Liat, and while there are other carriers that have offered their assistance to countries in the Caribbean, what's Grenada's position as it relates to regional airlines, flights that may want to start travel to Grenada? Liat, just yesterday, the Prime Minister of Antigua, Gaston Brown, announced that he is forging ahead with the airline as the other shareholder countries decided to sell their shares. What's your thoughts on the latest development with Liat and regional travel?
I certainly want to wish the Prime Minister of Antigua, and of course Antigua, all the best in their endeavor to ensure that they can have a new structure of a reformed Liat 2020 as they call it. That certainly would be in a mix of transport opportunities if it does in fact come out positively, in the mix of transport opportunities for the region. But we cannot just sit and wait on that possibility. Therefore, discussions have been held with Caribbean Airlines from Trinidad, and they've been expanded flight opportunities to Grenada and to some other countries in the sub-region. We also settled on arrangement with Inter-Caribbean Airlines coming from U.S. Virgin Islands. They also would be doing flights to Grenada, St. Lucia's, Barbados, St. Vincent, and so on. And we also have one Caribbean based in St. Vincent, who would now officially, today I believe, would be given permission to start flights to several other islands, including Grenada. And of course, we were looking at, and of course, given permission to the St. Vincent Air, the SVG Air, which has been plying the routes of Carriacou to Grenada. And they're now looking at Twin Otter, a bigger flight plane for the transport between Grenada and Carriacou. And we have said to them, and they have, of course, indicated an initial startup, which they expect to be soon, in using the Twin Otter, that they expect us to subsidize the flight for a while before it gained the kind of momentum that can get the level of occupancy necessary to avoid any subsidies. We have committed ourselves to this, and therefore, in fact, if anything else, I believe that COVID-19 will see expanded opportunities for transport in the region as a whole, and therefore we'd expect to see more people from different parts of the region traveling to different countries in the Caribbean region, which is an objective we should have had a long time before. In fact, many of the governments, and including us, Grenada, we're moving, some have already moved, to reduce the taxes on tickets and of course, on airline flights into the country, regional transport, that is, and which makes it, we'll see tickets being cheaper and with more opportunities for transport. I think we'll see expanded tourism opportunities in the sub-region as a whole.
Speaking of reduction in the taxes, have you heard from your counterparts in the region if they are considering doing that as well to encourage more regional travel?
Some have already moved, and St. Vincent have moved already. St. Lucia has reduced theirs already. We will be going to Parliament. We have to make a parliamentary change, and we'll be doing the same thing. And other countries have committed themselves. As you probably would know, and the rest of the country would know, I've been advocating over the years for all governments to do this. And I did not get the support. But it seemed like COVID-19 has forced all of us to rethink our position. And for the first time, we've seen almost every government agreeing to reduce the cost of taxes as far as regional transport is concerned.
Speaking of across the region, this morning we woke up to the news, some good news, published on the GIS Facebook page that health authorities welcomed the news that the three Trinidadians that were repatriated last week, they've further tested negative for the virus. What does that mean for us? That says welcome news.
That did not surprise me, the latest information. In fact, I think we should have been more careful of accepting what was the initial report of positive tests of 3 persons. But of course, since it was said, we had to give it some importance. But I was concerned, clearly so, but the ministry went forward and did a lot of the contact tracing, over 150 plus persons that the people would have been in contact with, and none of them turned out negative. So if they had live virus, there's no way they would be in Grenada that length of time and not have infected other persons. In fact, the spouses of those persons also tested negative. So it clearly indicates either something was wrong with the test itself, and I'm not saying so, I don't know exactly, or it could have been dead viruses that were in the system of those persons before they came into Grenada. In other words, clearly, in my view, and from the conclusion of 2 negative tests following the first one showing positive, it is clear to me that the people would have come into the country having been affected, not necessarily a live virus, but having some traces before. So that's good news in a sense, but it's also one message in all this: we cannot drop our guard, so to speak, because I think with the opening of the border, there's the possibility, and I can't tell, we can't. So far, we have been very lucky, but we can't depend on luck. We have to put all systems in place, like I indicated earlier on, to ensure that we can manage any problems that we have in the future. And also we have to be clear that some of us, because we've lifted the curfew, there's that perception that we have no virus and we have no problem, and therefore we can do as we want. There's that element of security prevailing in the country. And I want to urge all our citizens to be extremely careful. I am myself, don't take any chances, and I'm urging everyone. I've noticed a lot of our young people believe they're invincible. You listen to reports, Blossom, over and over, all over the world. Even this morning, I'm listening television, and a reporter I just saw it a few minutes ago. 27-year-old young girl reporting and was doing assignments during the period a few weeks ago, and caught the virus. And she had enormous physical problem. In fact, she's not yet got over the physical problem. She had operations and so on for ruptured appendix, and this virus seemed to be affecting different people in different ways. So we can't take chances with this at all. And we're urging our people that we should all not drop our guard. In other words, we have to maintain the protocols, the physical distancing. Don't drop it. Each of us must do it because we have to protect each other. We must also wear the mask. Wear the mask. When you do so, you're protecting other people, and you're protecting your own family and your friends. And we can the regulation we have says that you can socialize. You can have your 20 persons or less in a social activity, enjoying yourself, but keep the protocols, right? We lifted the curfew, so you have an opportunity for social activities beyond a certain period of time. But that does not mean that we should go on in a carnival-like atmosphere as if everything is now free and that we don't have a problem. We do have a problem. We do not yet have a vaccine that prevents you from getting this dreaded virus disease, and therefore we all must take precautions. I would hate to see that we have done anything in this country as leaders of this country at this time that causes people to have serious medical problems and even die. I would feel a sense of guilt. Therefore, I have no choice but to do everything I can to ensure that we protect our people and ensure that we protect the country as a whole.
A few weeks ago, the Ministry of Finance highlighted that they have seen anomalies in the application process for the stimulus package, the stimulus payout, and they announced that new measures would be put in place to ensure that this does not reoccur. What's the latest in ensuring that there are honest people applying for benefits from the package, and that we are doing what we need to ensure everybody benefits?
The message has been sent, and I do want to make the point. It's not all the people who are doing it. Some did it. Some did attempt to misuse the system. But generally speaking, I think people, a lot of people, stuck to the procedures that we announced, and of course the conditions under which the stimulus was given. The only problem, Blossom, is that because of the problems that we experienced, it has provided enormous more work for the staff who have to do all the checks. And therefore, it slowed up the process. So some people should have been getting their support in May, for example, was delayed. Those who were supposed to get in June was slightly delayed because they have to check the NIS to make sure the data received is correct with the ones at the Inland Revenue Department, because people have to be registered accordingly and so on. And people should not be having dummy staff, so to speak, and expecting that the government will just pay without any checks. That sort of thing held up the system. And in fact, some people, we had further problems with the banking information that some people submitted. Turns out that some numbers were wrong, and therefore the checks were returned. Some cases, the wrong bank's name was given, the checks had to be returned. So there were a lot. I mean, I feel a sense of really, I mean, I praise the staff of the Ministry of Finance, the COVID Secretariat, a number of public servants who gave up all their time, sacrificed their family time during the most difficult time when some of us were locked up in our houses. They were out there doing all this patriotic work for the country, and I think we owe them a lot. There's young people at the Ministry of Finance and different parts of the government service, some of them who offered their service and time to help others in this very difficult time.
Mr. Prime Minister, just a short while ago you mentioned Carnival, which reminded me of something. I heard some news that hurt my feelings and broke my heart this morning, that Carnival Monday and Tuesday is no longer a public holiday.
No.
Oh, Lord,
that's
Prime
exactly
Minister.
the point. You can't, Blossom, we can't have it. we can't have it, because if we do, if you have a holiday, what are you going to do with a holiday? Just sit home?
Yes,
no.
And rest.
We are, in fact, some of us will, Blossom, but a lot of people will use it to feel that it's a holiday and let's have fun, and not necessarily live within the confines of the COVID the protocols that we have established. I think we better be safe, Blossom, than sorry. I mean, I would love to see our people, and there is enough time and afternoon and earlier evening for one to enjoy themselves. I don't think we have seen enough holidays already. You know it for a fact. We have locked in this country for almost 3 months. So there is no time off. We have to get back to business. We have to get back to some form of a serious economic life in the country. The businesses that suffered over the period of time, the government itself have suffered enormous loss of revenue. We can't continue that mindset of free time. I don't think it's right. And I don't enjoy doing this. I don't enjoy telling people that we have to forego the Monday holiday, because Monday alone is holiday and half day on Tuesday. We have to forego both of them. And hopefully next year we're going to have a bumper time. Hopefully by the time the vaccine comes on stream and we protect ourselves and we feel a bit safer, I believe we sacrifice today for a much more successful 2021.
I could understand the rationale behind removing the holiday, so I could get it.
Yeah, but we cannot touch Emancipation Day, and just be aware of this.
Right.
That's a national holiday and has more significance, and it's not a time to have revelry and so on. It's a time to remember our past and to remember where we have come from and so on, and that we expect a more sober period, and I expect us to conduct ourselves accordingly.
All right. Let's move on now. Mr. Prime Minister, what is the latest as it relates to our oil and gas exploration? Since making the announcement that we found oil during the election campaign 2018.
But as you know,
what's the latest?
As you know, we have had enormous problems with going forward because of all the difficulties, the loss, this issue of oil extraction it takes a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of time. And with the COVID period, it has even slowed down the process even more. because a lot of the organization, the companies that were interested, remember with the price of oil now having dropped considerably in the last few months, you would see a lot of people who are willing to move forward and to do the drilling process. They have now held back for the time. I expect to see some movement as the oil prices move back up, even if it doesn't get back to where it was originally before COVID-19. I expect to see more movement. So the oil and the gas is still there, but they're extracting it. And of course, getting people to commit is more of a problem. And as you can know, even Guyana, who now will be enjoying, hopefully so, the benefits of oil, they took them years and years, long before us, before they finally was able to get the kind of result, to get the drilling process in place and to be able to benefit from the extensive resources that they have. So hopefully Grenada will be in that place too, but it's taking longer than I myself and others would have projected.
All right, let's see. So another topic. Last year it was announced that government was seeking assistance to locate investors for the shrimp farm project. Any updates with that venture?
Well, it's been a long process. We have contacted our friends regionally, internationally, and investigations are proceeding. We have no formal results yet, but that, of course, as you know, is a difficult one for all of us. Clearly, these people misuse the procedures of what we intended, but we are not going to give up the attempt to be able to recover this, which is not really our money, is the people who invested in this shrimp farm. These are the people. It's not government. Government got its fees from the investors. It's just that the people who invested in it will not be benefiting from that investment, at least for the time being.
Some people are calling for a national day of prayer, specifically on the days that should have been Carnival, Monday and Tuesday. Any plans for another day of prayer?
Because we have had one already, you know that.
Yes.
A significant one. But prayers is always important, so we can't have too much. So having another one, the Ministry of Religious Affairs can certainly look at this. I think we are lucky, you know, we have a lot to pray and thank God for. We have to realize that so far we have been lucky. Despite all of this happening regionally and internationally, we have not had any major problem with the virus so far. And that's why we have to be so careful. We must not take things for granted. We are lucky, but we must not play with that luck.
Another topic that has been in the news a lot lately, the proposed merger of the Cocoa Association and the Corporate Nutmeg Association. Yes. What was the rationale behind coming up with that merger?
But that was something, that's not a today thing, you know. It's unfortunate. Every time it comes up, if people behave as if it's something of today. The fact is, since 1995 when I came into office, my first meeting with the farmers was one of Rod Cuss one, because I challenged them on what was happening and the fact that they were not benefiting from the price from the resources raised to buy these commodities. And I said to them, one of the biggest problem you have is that the lack of a merger of the operations to reduce cost of administration and all these buildings that you have all over the place maintaining. These money should be going to farmers, not to go into supporting a large bureaucracy. So that was my position in 1995. So at that time, I only had an 8-7 government. I mean, the farmers disagreed with me, but I stood my ground and told them, I know I'm right. I know that if you're serious about the business or really ensuring that you benefit in the best possible way from the commodities, that you must reduce cost. And anyone who has a business and is not thinking, if the business is not going anywhere and you always seem to be having to cover losses, having difficulty meeting basic expenses, must consider why it is so. Why do you have to constantly come into government every time looking for help financially? And when the government offers advice as the best way forward, then all sorts of propaganda of the government wants to take over the association. Government have so many things it's not able to run properly. You think government wants another organization? I am not, it would not be in my time. The government not interested in one share that it does not have, only the shares, of course, from its estates that it has, the nutmegs that it has. Government is not interested, and I would not be part of. The farmers who right now don't own individually any shares should be in a new dispensation, a new organization, where the thing merges and reduce costs, all this heavy bureaucracies and so on. And of course, would now organize shares based on the value of the nutmegs that you sell or the cocoa you sell. That's what should be the way forward. They would be the one owning shares and owning the resources of the association. I'm not happy with those who have been on these boards over the years, who seem to like to be on boards for what it is worth. And they're the ones seem to be misleading the farmers because they seem to be protecting, I don't know what they're protecting. Because it seems to me it's so clear that what you have is not working, and you should be advising the farmers to do something if you care about them. Seriously so. You should be doing everything possible to get them to understand that this thing must change. And a lot of lies and propaganda and being spread, at what purpose? Who is protecting whom? And who wants what? This government is not interested in anything else but the best for the farmers of the country. And I think the farmers are becoming to understand this, that there are people who have their selfish motives, and they know who they are, who are interested not in the success of the farmers and the industry as a whole and what benefits the country. But I don't know, and I certainly would like them to know, to tell me why they are behaving in this manner.
A question that I have here on the WhatsApp, Mr. Prime Minister. Now that we are at 0 confirmed cases, how long will the state of emergency remain in place?
No, I didn't hear you that clearly.
Sorry, I asked, now that we are at 0 confirmed cases of COVID-19, how long will the state of emergency remain in place?
Well, we are now coming with a full, what we have as regulations in the state of emergency that we have to renew constantly. We'll be going to Parliament with a permanent state of emergency, a law that guides us for a period of time. And I honestly believe we should have that's the process in place until you have a vaccine that protects the people from being infected. Until a vaccine is found, I don't think we should lift the emergency situation completely. The protocols should still be in place, and therefore you have to have a legal status for any such law that you implement. So that is precisely what I think we should be doing. So the present situation is we need it. Until the vaccine is found, I don't see us removing it.
Okay. Do you have any idea as to how much has been paid out through the stimulus package? I know you may not have exact figures on you.
As you know, this is a roving figure. So the last figure is over $17 million and counting. But I'm sure it probably might be as close to 20 million now, because every day, and the last time I checked was almost a week ago. So I would not be surprised. But as you recall, we are now extending the stimulus to the hotel workers for another 3 months, because of that's one area that you won't see recovering as fast as some of the other areas. Construction is not back on. A lot of the projects are going to be back on stream. A lot of the vendors are back plying their trade, and different areas, many restaurants and other areas have been opened within the limits. Of course, no one is enjoying the kind of livelihood they had before COVID-19, and the government, of course, itself is also suffering. But that is where we are at this particular time. So we will extend the support, and we continue to provide support to many sectors of the society. And as people bring information about the different areas of problems that they're experiencing, government looks at them and decide how we can help.
Any updates on the Molyneux Road project as MP for the area?
Yeah, we just have the CDB has now given authority to okay the consultants doing the study. As you know, it was interrupted. COVID-19 stopped them a lot of stuff, and that's the latest, because the studies must be done before you can decide exactly what the final situation is. So that's the consultants have now been chosen, so they'll begin work very soon.
Can you share with us which entity is leading the shrimp farm investigation?
No, well, it's only one entity to do it. The CBI, of course, has its responsibility. They're the ones mandated to do this together with the FIU, of course. That's your financial intelligence unit, and the police in general. They would be the normal units, areas of security in the country would be the ones in responsible for this. And as Minister of National Security, certainly all of them would have to report to me what the status is. That's why I could afford to tell you that we have not been able to land any serious results yet.
Mr. Prime Minister,
it's an ongoing process. We wouldn't give up this.
Okay. Over the past few weeks, we have been hit with the deaths of a number of Grenadians, the accident in Wester Hall on Monday, the passing of a cultural icon, Mr. Edwards, on Sunday. Your condolences, sir, your thoughts on what has hit us over the past few days?
Yes, it's a tough one. Tough one. The loss of life, that serious accident, pains everybody. And especially when you lose any life that you lose is painful, but especially when in the prime of their life, like the young man and the other two persons, both are very relatively young. It's painful, and a lot of injuries that resulted from this very serious accident. And that's why sometimes when you have people not obeying the traffic laws of the land, that sometimes when people are penalized for it, then they complain. But sometimes you have no choice but to ensure that you have to be vigilant with respect to what takes place on our road network throughout the length and breadth of the country. So we are saddened by this, and I certainly have issued my own sympathy to the family and to those who have suffered. And we still have to pray for those who are now still at the hospital, and we're not sure of their present status at this particular time. We wish them the best with their families. Of course, David Peck Edwards, as you know, has been an icon in every sense of the word. He has been training the young people at all the schools throughout the length and breadth of the country. He has served the Department of Culture and promoted culture throughout his entire life. And therefore, his passing would be of a tremendous loss to Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique.
I know I have to let you run, Mr. PM, but just a few more questions. In relation to the St. George's Market recently, that has been another topical issue here in Grenada. What's the latest developments, and how soon can the vendors return?
The minister works, and his team are working feverishly with the vendors. They have to do a number of renovation, and the whole place have to be reconstructed. The estimate he gave us yesterday would be about $8 to $9 million of work that has to be done. So a temporary arrangement will be made for the vendors. We want to have an extremely good system environment there in the market, because that's so important. The toilet facilities have been in shambles. We have to rebuild all aspects of this and then put systems in place to manage it so that it won't be destroyed again in the future. We have to protect these people, the vendors, and to ensure that they have the best environment to be able to earn their livelihood. And we will be doing this, investing a lot of money. Again, it tells you what this government is doing. In the face of all its financial problems that with the loss of revenue and with the virus, we are still finding the resources necessary to do the things that we must do to help our people in all aspects of life in the country. So that market will become a modern system. They're going to be building some additional units and cleaning up all sections of the market for the kind of environment that we wish to have.
I have a question on Facebook and 2 on WhatsApp that asks the same thing. Any update on what has been termed cell phone gate in relation to the cell phone bill incurred by Sheldon Scott? Was it last year or so? Has it been repaid or so as yet?
No, I don't think it has been repaid yet. Blossom, I don't think so. But clearly, as we indicated, that is not something that we will rest on. It was not, as we pointed out before. But it's not just, it's unfortunate that you hear Sheldon. It's not just Sheldon. A lot of other people names are involved, you know. So I would say, when we ask those questions, we must ask about everybody. And if Keith Mitchell or the people, his name must also be there. But it would not, Sheldon was not right to do what he did. And so on, the system we had was broken, and clearly that allowed it. But it's not just today, you know. You go back to the records, you'll see what happened in previous government. But that doesn't mean two wrongs doesn't make a right. And we take full responsibility for what happens during our time, and we'll do everything possible to ensure that's corrected.
2 more questions, Mr. Prime Minister. The breakwater system, the breakwater project in St. Patrick, and the relocation of residents. Whose responsibility is it to relocate those residents, and any latest developments in that venture?
I can't be too specific on this. I know the Ministry of Works and the people of St. Patrick's, they're working together as far as that project is concerned. So I can't tell you the specifics more on this, but because nothing has happened as I know in the last 2-3 months or so because of COVID. So I would have to check myself to find an update on that present situation.
All right, I think let me make sure that I have covered everything this morning. I've covered most of them. I know I have to let you run, but I've covered most of them. Oh yes, there was a question that was asking about a few, if not the last election, the one before. You hinted of your retirement. And looking for somebody to represent the NNP in your constituency, Northwest, somebody to take over as a potential Prime Minister candidate. What's the latest, Mr. Prime Minister? I don't know when I'll get you again, so I'm asking you now.
We're working on this. You find I look like somebody should be retired. Blossom, no one should be expect to be in any position or place for prolonged period of time. And of course, I'm one who firmly believe that every day you spend in an activity should be one more day of planning for your exit. That is the philosophy I employ. And certainly we are very active as a party in examining the present system of our party, the structure, and the potential leadership. And when that is in place, then rest assured, I will be an ordinary citizen and providing whatever advice I can provide when I'm asked. I would not impose myself on anyone in government after I leave this job. It's going to be up to them to seek my advice if they wish to. And whether it's the same NNP in government or another party in government, the position will still be the same.
And finally, Mr. Prime Minister, just last week or the week before, we had a situation or an interview with Mr. Dorset Charles in relation to payment owed to him by government. Have you heard of his recent concerns and any plans to?
Well, there was some misleading information. The impression given as if Dorset Charles was never paid. Yeah, right? There's a long history. This the only unfortunate thing that is I was in government when over $100,000 was paid to his lawyer, and he himself ended up cursing his lawyer and claiming that the lawyer took the money. So we were able to find out the data. I think it was 1998 that money was paid, and of course, based on the court decision, clearly there were additional resources. He was asked, and with his lawyer, to present as a formula, working with the Ministry of Finance, and the follow-up was not done. So the fault was not necessarily on the Ministry of Finance, on the government for the rest of the payment. I didn't agree with that court decision at all because it was really a quota, but the court is the court, and I respect the decision of the court. While I don't necessarily agree with all of it, but I respect it, and therefore we act accordingly while disagreeing with the results.
And Grenlec? Any updates on the Grenlec debacle and the money that we have to pay? Can we afford to pay the judgment that was handed down in court?
Well, we can't afford to pay anything, but we have to meet certain basic things. The Ministry of Public Utilities, headed by Minister Boyne, they are working closely with the WRB and its owners, and to work out some kind of formula in going forward. But we have to deal with this. This is the result of the final decision. But I think while it's a tough one, I honestly believe that is still far better than having our entire electricity, an essential service, not under the control or that we have the kind of rules in place that will guide the prices of that important essential service. And certainly I believe the impact of electricity on all aspects of life in the country cannot be questioned, and therefore whatever we have to do, we will do so. I believe the end result will be far better than what we have existing at this particular time.
Okay, I promise this is the last one now. I can't let you go without asking about the sister Isle of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. We've had concerns coming out from the sister isles. One, with some residents feel like they are not properly represented by their MP, and they have raised concerns about the moving of the jetty from Hillsborough to... my goodness, what's the name of the place? But the moving of the jetty, and businessmen have been speaking out that it's affecting their business. What's your thoughts on the situation on the sister
isles? Well, that decision with the jetty has been worked on with the representatives, the people of Carriacou, and of course the Port Authority, which of course has responsibility for the ports in all parts of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. And that's a work in progress, and they will certainly find appropriate solution in going forward. We are aware as you move the port from Harveyville, from Hillsborough to Harveyville, there would be a loss of some form of economic activity in the main part of the town. But that's something that will be worked on with the business persons and the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique. But on the first point you raised, I heard you say that the people complain about the lack of representation. I suppose some people in Northwest St. George's would say that I have not been representing them properly. That's something you'd always get. You can't please everybody. And Sister Kendra Stewart is a new representative, and politics is a difficult game. And sometimes people want a lot more than you can deliver at a given time, and so we all have to. It's a profession that it's not an easy one, because the more you give, is more some people sometimes criticize you, and that's life. And I don't blame people for wanting to get the best of the service from those of us that have given the opportunity to serve. So I assume that the representative, together with the government, will be dealing with any problems that the people of Carriacou and Petite Martinique has. I certainly want to spend a lot more time in Carriacou, and that's why I'm looking forward to the twin auto service between Grenada and Carriacou from SVG Air, because that gives me a more comfort in traveling to Petite Martinique and Carriacou. I'm not a very good boat rider, and I don't enjoy the little small plane very well. So the twin auto will give me more opportunity to travel, because Carriacou and Petite Martinique probably want to have the most beautiful parts of this country. And therefore, I enjoy every time I go there. I have a lot of friends there, and it's always a pleasure for me to be in Carriacou. So I look forward to spending a lot more time in Carriacou and Petite Martinique in the coming months.
Any latest on the payment of Gemma Bain Thomas? That's another judgment handed down.
I know they're working on the final formula. It's unfortunate, because I don't think that was a deserving result at all. I think it was extremely unfortunate for the government then to have appointed somebody permanent as cabinet secretary. I think it was wrong fundamentally. I have never appointed as a prime minister someone in a youthful position to a permanent job as cabinet secretary, knowing that job is a sensitive job for the government of the day. I believe those persons should be on contract. I believe a person cabinet secretary, because even if I leave government today, blossom, and another prime minister takes over the country while the NMP in office, the present cabinet secretary may not be wanted by the prime minister, because that's a sensitive job. But the government then went and gave a full appointment to someone they know just before an election, that if the party government changes, that person now would have to be paid while they cannot be in the cabinet office. I think that, to me, that was an immoral act. To me, I would call it a dishonest act. So the country is paying hundreds of thousands, probably more than $1 million, for what a previous government did, which I think was fundamentally flawed. I have not done it in my 20-odd years. When I left government in 2008, I could have named Elizabeth Greenwich as cabinet secretary. She was never given a permanent position because I don't think it was right. The previous ones that are there were all close to retirement. They were never given permanent position. Check my record. A government come in just 3-4 years, you take somebody new in the public service and you make them permanent cabinet secretary. Is that fair? No, it's not fair. So, Blossom, I hope I did you justice in your program this morning.
Yes, you did, Mr. Prime Minister.
I was frank and open with you, which is what the program is all about. That's the only way I know how to answer questions and to deal with the public. To be very open. Sometimes people disagree with my forthrightness, but that's what it's all about, to be honest and straight with people while they sometimes disagree with you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. I know we stayed half an hour longer than planned, but you are so gracious in answering the questions. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
No, that's me. And you don't have to wait for a program to call me. Anytime you have a problem,
just call 444 Mitchell.
If you hear the Prime Minister does anything wrong, call me and tell me what wrong do you commit. Don't be afraid to do this. I will tell you just what I did wrong, because I ain't perfect. And I would also tell you when you are wrong in that estimation too.
I agree. I'm a good girl. I don't do anything wrong. Thank you very much, Mr. Prime Minister. Have yourself a good day. Stay safe.
Yeah, all the best to you too.
Bye. We'd like to thank Prime Minister Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell for being our guest this morning. We're going to take a break and then we're going to come back and wrap up for 2 minutes. This is To The Point. We'll be right back.
Are you a small hotelier looking to recover from the negative impacts of COVID-19?
GBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Let's Cook Grenada, a practical culinary guide to local cuisine. Learn new ways to prepare your favorite foods or try different menus from various locations across the island. Let's Cook, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. on GBN Television, Channel 7 and 11, GBN's Facebook page, and GBN's YouTube channel. If you miss it, catch the repeat Thursdays at 10 a.m. and Sundays at 3:30 p.m.
It is important to know what your road signs and markings means. The zigzag lines means you should not park in the marked area. Parking is allowed inside the solid white lines on the edge of the road. Remember, look out for pedestrians. Pedestrians, be sure the vehicle comes to a complete stop before crossing. These tips can save your life. These tips can make our roads safer for all users. Be safe, be seen, be smart. A message from the Traffic Department of the Royal Grenada Police Force.
Remember, if you have flu symptoms, do the right thing and stay at home to avoid giving it to others. Remember, you can be infectious up to a week after developing symptoms, so rest up and take it easy.
Stop the spread of germs that can make you and others sick. Cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. If you don't have a tissue, use your elbow. Wash hands often, especially after coughing or sneezing into a tissue.
Welcome back to The Point. Just wanted to return and thank each and every one of you for tuning into the program this morning. I just received a bulletin. This morning I highlighted or I spoke about a tropical storm that was forming just east of us, and it has been confirmed that Tropical Storm Gonzalo has formed today. Just a short while ago, the official announcement will be sent out by the National Disaster Management Agency soon, but I just wanted to let our viewers and listeners know it is expected to make landfall in the southern Caribbean by this weekend. So those of you who are in flood-prone areas, be prepared. Those of you who need to go out and boost your emergency kits, whether it is for food or medical equipment, ensure that you have that just in case. I am not saying anything would happen that you would need it, but better safe than sorry, as the Prime Minister said a short while ago. Thank you to each and every one of you that tuned in to The Point this morning. Appreciate it. Joseph is up next with Mid-Morning Buzz. I'll be back with you tomorrow, God willing. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and protect each other. Have a good Wednesday, everybody.